measures are you performing well or not, according to activity.
The sample, 360,000 people.
Yeah. The sample is about 363,000 people or so. It is. So, what I've got here in yellow, I've got the 2005-2006 data. I include the 2007-2008 data. Now remember, Liverpool's target is to increase the proportion of the population by 1% who meet 30 minutes of activity per week. Okay? That's their target. So I've got Liverpool data. That's Liverpool as a city. Merseyside is the county. Okay? There are 5 parts of Merseyside. Then the regional, which is the northwest of England. Then the national data. So what this tells us is that Liverpool is performing particularly well in relation to its promotion between 2005 and 2007, but it's still less active than other parts of the country. Okay? So we've increased activity by about 1.5%, well, it's actually 1.4%. That's 0.7% per year, just less than the target. The target was 1%, we made 0.7%. But the trend is good, the trend is positive. So things are working. One exactly is working. There are too many things going on. There are too many actors working together for us to put our finger on exactly what's working. Very complex, agents of change model that's happening in Liverpool, but something's happening just over 2 years. Things are happening across the country as well, but as I said, the rate of change isn't quite as good. And the proportion across the country anyway is about 20%, so about 21% of the population in England are active for 30 minutes 3 times a week. That's horrendously low, really, isn't it? You know, only 1/5 of the population meet 3 30 minutes. The target really for health is 5 30 minutes, but 3 30 minutes is what happens in England. Okay, we were talking earlier on about how we're going to get at our communities. How do we get really into those streets and places and parks where people are living? How do we engage these people into a decision-making process? When we've got this policy up here, people sit in rooms up in high places, and the real people trying to get activity are down here somewhere, or maybe it should be the other way around. In Liverpool, there are 5 neighbourhoods. That's how we describe them in Liverpool. 5 neighbourhoods of very different demographic status. And Liverpool is now trying to deliver its health promotion through its neighbourhoods. Much smaller units, much more locally controlled, and each neighbourhood has a neighbourhood management team, and the neighbourhood management team has a key physical activity person on it. I don't go into any detail about it here, but basically, the darker red it is, the more deprived it is. Okay? Darker red is, the more deprived it is. Liverpool has, of 28% of Liverpool small areas are in the top 1% of most deprived areas in England. 28% of Liverpool areas are in the most deprived areas compared to the rest of England. So we've got huge deprivation around here. And in the south, if you fly to Liverpool, you'll land there. Okay? Just because you know. You land there. This area, Liverpool Football Club, around about here somewhere. Everton Football Club, really close to it. But deprived areas, real deprivation. So what have we got? Have we got any data based on deprivation? Does the physical activity data match it with the deprivation data? Don't know. Does it or doesn't it? Well, with our active people survey, we actually managed to commission more detail more data collections, as I said just now, and we've got this data. Okay, there are 5 questions asked in the active people survey. Are you active for 30 minutes a week? Do you volunteer to support any sport or physical activity for an hour or more a week? Are you a member of a club? Did you receive tuition in the last week for an hour or more? That's organised sport tuition. And do you take part in organised sport? And each of these are those 5... Let me go back a bit. Each of these are these 5 neighbourhoods. Okay? So, let's just focus on this particular bar here, because this is City and North. This is where Liverpool Football Club is and Everton Football Club. And even though in the south of the city, 22.7% of the population are active for 3 30-minute periods, that's my Wenglish again, 3 30-minute periods per week, only 14.2% in the north are active. That's a huge difference. So even in a small city like Liverpool, it's not a big city, we've got this inequality. And this stacks up with the statistics on cancer, on heart disease, depression, mental health. More or less matches this data. What we haven't done is really map that closely together. One of the weaknesses in our data set is actually now being able to match the people we actually get the data from this survey with those other statistics. And we've got to try and work towards doing that. And likewise, so you've got, there's lower activity, there's less volunteering, generally less club membership, less tuition, and less people take part in organised sport. It all matches up to deprivation. So who do we target? Where do we target? And the key thing is we must target those areas. I'm going to move on a little bit now just to talk a bit about obesity, because that's been a focus. There is an obesity task force in Liverpool, and we've made some inroads into obesity. So that last part was a bit about this demographics, about inequality, physical activity, and deprivation. In the UK, so in England, sorry, we have agreements, and the PSA stands for a Public Service Agreement. And by 2020, one of the targets is to reduce the proportion of overweight and obese children to the levels they were in the year 2000. And if current obesity trends continue, these are our statistics. Over half of men, about half of women, and a quarter of children will be obese by 2050, and it will cost about 45.5 billion per year. We talked about cost effectiveness just now. We talked about being able to match up our activity to some aspects of things like obesity. That's going to be a really important facet for us to get our hands on in the future. Let's move past that. Okay. So obesity is key, and obesity levels are pretty high in Liverpool, like most cities. In fact, they're higher than other cities in the country. So in Liverpool, last year, we engaged in a social marketing campaign. There's been some interesting data. There's a study in the States called the Verb study, which is based on social marketing, which seems to be quite successful. So Liverpool has got a big tanker driving around the city, and in one half of the tanker there's nutrition advice, and the other half is activity advice. It drives around to these neighbourhoods and tries to engage neighbourhoods in events around the city to try and get the city to lose £1 million in body weight over 12 months. And people sign up, they pledge, I might lose X amount of pounds in body weight. Children are not included, okay? And if you actually go to the tanker, you actually you're not included if you've got a normal BMI. We don't want unhealthy weight loss. We want healthy weight loss. So this tanker is moving around the city, and the pledge is to try and achieve that by the end of 2009. Whilst at the same time, there's a national campaign in the UK called the Change for Life campaign, which is a £250 million social marketing programme promoting physical activity and good diet. And the focus this year is on children and families. And this Change for Life, you could Google that quite easily and find some really good stuff on Change for Life from social marketing. So there's been a shift in emphasis, not towards programming, but now into social marketing. TV, radio, media, leaflet drops, these sorts of things, and branding. So lots of companies can buy into the Change for Life campaign and use their brand. Okay, so Liverpool, we're moving towards this. We're going to look a little bit about overweight and obesity. Just to stop for a second and look at, well, from an evaluation perspective, how do we influence the planning before the programme and the evaluation of the programme as the programme runs? Well, we've been using something called the REAIM framework, which seems to be a very practical, very user-friendly framework when you're trying to evaluate the effectiveness of physical activity promotion. And the REAIM, the R stands for reach. What proportion of the population are you reaching? Are you reaching the population you've intended to reach? Big question. Are you simply making those who are active more active? How effective is the program? If the target of the program was to increase knowledge or to improve family cohesion, was it effective, and can we measure that? Are the aspects of the program adoptable? Adoption means if it works here, will somebody else who lives in a different neighbourhood adopt those principles there because they seem to be effective? And can we share them? Implementation is about the management of the program. How was it implemented? So, if the program looks good from a management perspective, but you didn't train your instructors up properly, then your implementation is going to fail. So implementation is a key aspect of recording or evaluating a program. We need to record evidence on how was the program implemented. And maintenance is all about demonstrating effectiveness and keeping the program going. And that's a problem because of funding. So I want to look at a few evaluation projects. We looked at some stuff on fatness and fitness from a large population level study on children in the Sports Links project. I made a little bit about A-class, all about elite sport, and this is all about fatness and fitness. Then Massimo will talk a little bit about engaging a process of evaluation with a black and racial minority group in Liverpool. And by the way, the bottom one, this is featured in the guide you've got. There's a short paragraph just in the back of the guide, this project. Okay, Sports Links is a project which started in 1997. Sports Links, this is Liverpool's next generation. Okay, Liverpool's next generation. Run by Liz Lamb. It's a multifaceted program involving all ages of children, all types of things, active play, people going to school and run what are called wake-up, shake-up dance programs before school starts, because children tend to sort of be half asleep until 11 o'clock and can't learn until 11. So lots of programs, lots of healthy eating programs, lots of sports programs. It's a really big program with lots of partners involved. Again, this is probably a good example of another program in Liverpool and lots of partners involved in it. It just seems to be a typical of what goes on in the city. So, in the city, we've actually been mapping fatness and fitness and lots of other things. Actually, lots of things to do with young people since 1998. Just going to share some data with you from that program. Here we have, in pink, we have BMI. Okay, BMI is an indices of overweight, not overfatness, of overweight. From 1998 to 2003, 2004, and it's going up. This is on 16,000 children, 9 to 10-year-olds in Liverpool. Whereas endurance performance, fitness, is plummeting. So we've got this issue that fitness is going down in 16,000 children, and BMI is going up. And what we did, we actually looked at this data in relation to thirds of the population. So this group here, this group here are the least fit group. This is the average fit group, and this is the